Hello, parents and carers. It is week 5.
Week 5, yeah, already.
You're feeling a bit off, aren't you, this afternoon?
Yeah. We had electives this afternoon and
Hockey elective.
hockey electives, yeah, specifically. Look, it was good. It was good for the first little bit, but just got some really weird attitudes from.
It wasn't weird. It was disrespectful attitude, actually.
Yeah, disrespectful attitude from
Just kind of
from
not
some of
playing within the
students
spirit of the game.
Yeah.
And given that electives is actually meant to be something that's just a bit
taking it a little bit
fun
too seriously,
and,
I think,
and just a way to kind of end the week with us doing something that we really like and sharing it with the kids. It's not always fun when it kind of turns way too competitive. Way too competitive. That's a shame. Bit of an annoying way to finish what has been actually quite a good week.
Yeah, a really good week.
It's been an alright week.
Look, next week's the last week of round 1 of electives, and I think a lot of the kids, we had a chat, and a lot of them got the message, and I think we'll have a much better week next week, I think.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I actually think the 4-day week has thrown a few of the students this week. It's certainly thrown me. I think we kind of all came in on Monday and then we chilled out Tuesday and then kind of getting them back into things.
I'm
for the
almost
rest
more
of this
tired
week.
now than I am on a regular 4-day week.
I agree. But it has been a good week. So Monday, although we only had 9 students in one class and 11 in the other, it was great because we got some extra planning time, which is so desperately needed at this time of year. Well, do you want me to start and talk about English?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, so in English, oh my gosh, I have to actually think back to what we did. Oh, in English, okay, so we finished off some of our adverb work on Monday. I spoke to the students about putting together some stories with the use of specific adverbs, and then not only just that, but also focusing on some of the skills that they've learned over the space of this week in terms of narrative writing, getting some good figurative language in to their pieces, some complex sentences, basically showing their knowledge, which we're going to extend into next week because we'll be doing a writing workshop next week, which I'll talk about. In reading, we focused solely this week on word order within a sentence and the impact and effect of changing the word order. The way that we actually explored this initially, which was quite fun, I don't know if you heard us through the room, was that we explored subject and objects within a sentence, and the easiest way to explain that concept to a student is with the sentence, I love you. So that to identify the object and the subject, so the subject being I and the object being you. And I said, well, if we change that order, so it's grammatically still makes sense. So you, comma, I love. Why, when we say I love you to our loved ones or whoever it may be, why do we say I love you, not you, I love? And we ended up having about a 20-minute conversation about it.
That's cool.
And I had students yelling at me, being like, because it doesn't make sense. And rah. I'm like, no, when I get proposed to and they turn to me and they say, Lucy, will you marry me? I love you. Why are they not saying, Lucy, marry me, you, I love? And it kind of the debate. And they're like, just tell us the answer. And I'm like, we tell you the answers all the time. You need to figure it out. And eventually, after about 20 minutes of quite heated, and kids really struggling to figure out why, we then realised that it's the focus of where the focus of the sentence is placed.
That's cool.
So we actually took another excerpt from Wild Pig and Watercress, quite an interesting little part of the book, and we kind of paraphrased and summarised that particular sentence to really understand what the main idea of it was, and then using those words, jumbled them up to make a new sentence that still makes sense, but it placed the emphasis and the focus on a completely different thing.
Yeah.
So we did something like... it was something like what was the sentence? We were now living together and we were trying to avoid a confrontation because neither of us wanted to see who would give up first. And so then people then turned it all around and it was we never wanted to give up and we were careful that the confrontation didn't get us or something like that. So by using exactly the same words, we have completely shifted the impact and the effect of the sentence. And ultimately, there were 2 prongs to this of why we did it. Firstly, I wanted them to understand that the author's word choice is very specific and that it is conveying a very specific message. But then if you can then apply that to your own writing, you've got a stellar sentence with stellar words and intricate language and it's complex. But then if you were to flip your sentence or change it slightly, are you then conveying the meaning more effectively as the writer? So we kind of explored that. That was really, really good fun.
Cool.
And then with economics this week, the auction. So
it's so funny. We heard the walls.
Yeah, right. It was a bit intense. Hysteria is probably the only word I can use to describe it. two things happened with our economics unit this week. Firstly, I introduced their final project for the year, arguably for primary school, which is they need to get either by themselves or in a pair or in a group of 3, they need to create a business idea, and there's going to be a market day in either week 10 or week 11 where the students are going to be selling their good or service. The way that people would be buying them is with Timloos, which is the currency that I've been paying the students for turning up to school every day, and they've earned wages and additional money in other ways. So they need to invest money into their business. They need to think about ads and slogans and when they're going to show their ads. They also then need to put it into product development, and the whole aim of it is to see which business makes the most profit. We spoke about the advantages of being by yourself, in a pair, blah, 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 blah. And the kids seem really hyped about it. The description for the project is on Google Classroom, so they can show you that if you wish to have a look. Some people have gone, like, one pair of students are offering counselling services. Some of them are making scrunchies. Another are offering like a bit of like a carnival kind of game. So I'm really, really intrigued to see how that goes. That was the first thing we did for economics. And the second thing was that we had an auction. This was kind of meant to be a bit of like a carrot that I dangled in front of them to make sure that they still wanted to earn Timloos up until this point in term, week 5. Some of the items were blind auction, mystery auction items. So I think like the hysteria for like somebody paid like 95 Timloos, which is almost their entire salary for like a little pack of rubbers and like all this kind of stuff. So it was good fun.
Yeah.
But it's gotten the kids their money sense, or like I guess kind of like monetary literacy.
The value of a dollar almost.
Yeah. It's starting to build up a little bit more, and they're starting to understand, consumer choice and resource allocation and how they're going to appeal to a market and all that kind of stuff, which is ultimately what we're trying to do. Economics, we've kind of gone a little bit deeper than the grade 6 curriculum for economics, but it's because the kids are interested. So we've gone for it. Yeah. And really over the next couple of weeks, we're just going to kind of be chipping away at that. And yeah, we're going to have the writing workshop next week and reading next week. I'm actually bringing in 3 different food products. I've got Cheezels, I'm going to bring in a Mother can, and I'm going to bring in some granola that have all got like really interesting figurative language and like blurbs almost on the side of their packages as they're advertising.
Cool.
Is it? Yeah, advertising. Yeah. How they're going to brand their product, so the kids can analyze like for modality and then potentially use some of that in their own.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's me done.
All right, let's whip through this.
I've taken up 7 minutes already.
So for math, look,
no surprises really.
Math is good. We kept on going with the concept of converting between lengths of mass, units of mass, length, and capacity, and a lot of it's really, really starting to sink in. The kids are really, really getting comfortable with moving between those different units, where we've actually seen a lot of students not going, done with the questions now where it's, convert 3 kilometers into so many millimeters.
Yeah.
It's word problems and complex word problems. So it covers 2 bases. It also covers French comprehension, which has been great. The kids have actually worked really, really hard on these comprehension questions, on these units of measurement questions, and it's gone super, super well. Next week should be the end of that. We'll be moving on to prime and composite numbers. And then after that, I think we've covered what we're covering in the curriculum. So it's going to be mostly revision.
Yeah, nice.
Which we're so excited to get back to fractions and percentages and decimals and operations. So it should be good. In French, we continued working on our notable stuff, and so la vie de, the students can talk to you about it at home.
Yeah.
If you want to hear a little bit about it, essentially they pick their notable in English, and in French there's going to be almost like a profile, like a Facebook profile, for lack of a better term, of that notable. So the students have worked really, really hard on that this week, finding 5 facts, the education, the family, why we should learn about this person, what they've accomplished, just some really, really cool stuff. And the kids dug deep.
Yeah, they have. Well, some have.
Oh, yeah. No, I would think
most have.
Yeah, by and large, most of them have. Understanding that a fun fact or an interesting fact, is not date of birth. It's not date of death or where they're from.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really interesting things. Did you know that JFK won a Pulitzer Prize?
Yeah, I did actually.
I did not know that.
I studied history at uni.
Oh, there you go. See, no, I didn't know this. So just some really, really...
So knowledgeable.
Some really interesting stuff. And then going on with economics, so our integrated unit, the students worked more in the C'est ta vie booklet, which they've been loving. So last week they started with finding a job for themselves, with a salary, how much they were going to be earning every month, year, and week. And then description of it today is where the real fun got in.
Housing.
Housing. So they found a place that they can rent.
Alarmingly, one of the students found a really nice apartment. They're like, Miss Barrett, like, come check it out. Yeah. In one of those photos, I can see my apartment in it. So that was, thankfully, that's not something that can come into fruition.
Oh, I don't think it will. But no, like, it was really, really interesting. A lot of them, you know, the main stipulation was it needs to be half of your income, essentially, no more than half for your rent. And so the students, a lot of them, I really like this, but in order for it to hit half my income, I need to move a little bit further away. So it's not as nice of a place, but it does, you know, fit.
Yeah.
And it's been really, really good conversation. Some of
Life
the students even have asked me, can we room together? Can we get like a roommate with one kid in class, with another student in class? And I went, absolutely, why not?
I've heard about some of the housing buddies, and the house will burn down.
Yeah, no, look, it's been really interesting, but they've loved it. Initially, it was 15 minutes of me having to tell them, pick a place. Yeah. Pick a place and let's get moving. But look, it's been good. So the project started up well. They're engaged, and that's really as much as I can ask for at this point in the week. So they're super engaged in the lesson. This point of the year, yeah. So they're super engaged in this work, and it's going to be a good next week. We're going to be looking at furniture that they're going to buy to furnish their place. One of the students has been looking everything for free. What can he get for free on eBay? What can he have?
90 cents.
90 cents for a TV, a 62-inch with the, what are they called? The old tube TVs. Yeah. I explained to him, it's going to stick 40 inches out of the wall. And he went, that's okay. I went, not in the place that you're living. Anyways, really, really interesting stuff. But it's funny to see a lot of the students make some really savvy choices financially. And so what you were saying about knowing the value of a dollar is carrying over. About, I like this place, but it's $900 more a week because there's a pool. And do you need it? No. I'll take a cheaper place. Yeah. So it's been really smart choices.
Good on it.
So next week we'll be doing furniture. We're going to be moving on to transport and bills. So they'll have a bit of an insight into your world about paying bills and paying food and paying for transport, paying rent or mortgage or what have you.
Things actually cost money.
Yeah. So look, all in all, really good week in class.
Good week. I think we're all.
Yeah. Tournament time was awesome today.
Great. A bit of, and maybe it's just term 4, I don't know, a bit of term 4-itis, lack of listening.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, got me good this week. We also weren't the most favourite people earlier this week because homework was dense. Homework was super dense this week for those who have not kept up with things. So we had a really, really, really big chat about how you're not going to be bailed out at high school next year. If you don't get the work done in class, that's going to be homework. So this week's homework was very much, if this, these things haven't been done, if you weren't here on Monday, that was a missed class, rah, 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 rah. And unfortunately, if we are unwell or whatever it may be, that work's still expected to be done next year. So we laid on pretty thick. We spoke about how we need to reduce device time. So we're trying to help you guys with that battle. Because the fact of the matter is that some people are not keeping up, and next year that's going to cause a lot of problems. Yeah. And I think they started to realise that this week. We're providing one session of study hall each week, which was already in our planner anyway, but really trying to get them with good routines around this because next year they'll have that. So they need to be able to identify, right, what is on my list of things to do? I've got 40 minutes. What's going to be the best use of my time? Which task should I do during this course of time? We're trying to help the kids with that and go back to the study plan idea that we did way back in term 1 of, right, in your week, where is your spare time? Because if you don't do it during that time, you are going to be taking it away from something else because unfortunately, extracurricular activities will not always trump school.
Yep.
And shouldn't always trump school sometimes. So we weren't the most favourite people, but
I think we ended up.
We're not here to be be liked. We're here to teach. So the homework's going to keep on keeping on. We're going to do it right up until the final week. So hopefully that's all good. Just FYI, just want to make sure that everybody has handed back in the Google Classroom notice. If you don't know what I'm talking about, every student got given one, so we need to make sure that we get that back.
Just for tissues?
Oh, yes. If there's any chance that anybody could bring in a box of tissues, that would be so wonderful because we are going through them at a rate of knots. Yeah. Other than that, good week. Ended on a bit of a sour note with and I need to stress, only a few people. Few people in the hockey in the hall this afternoon. But other than that,
week 5's in the books. Hey!
See you next week.
See ya.